Bonjour, it's Jennifer, your French teacher in the south of France, and today I am going to tell you finally once and for all what's the difference between bon and bien and meilleur and mieux. I've had several students ask me about this lately, and it wasn't really a lesson that I was looking forward to putting together because there are a lot of little details, okay? And sometimes these words just don't work the same way as they do in English, or they can be a little more complicated, but I promise you I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible with lots of examples, etc. So I do have a study guide available for you to accompany this lesson. And if you're already a patron of mine on Patreon, you can go over there and download it. If you're not and you want to know how to be, just look down in the description below and you'll find the link. And I also have a full mini course on this subject available to you. You can also find the link and find out how to enroll in that course in the description below. There are online quizzes and practice cards, and the study guide and video are there as well. So let's get started. Okay, so we're talking about French adverbs and adjectives, bon, bien, meilleur, and mieux. And we're going to talk about all of the ways that you can use these sometimes confusing words. So if you're a person who's easily turned off by words like adjectives and adverbs, that's okay, because I'm going to give you a lot of examples, and if you just try to follow the context, you won't have to worry so much if you're using an adverb or an adjective, okay? You can learn this through context. So, right, let me get started by showing you bon and meilleur. Now, they're usually adjectives. An adjective is a word that describes, okay? And bien and mieux are usually adverbs. So they're usually going to tell how a verb is doing something. They usually answer the question how. And the problem is that in English, we say better, right? We say better whether it's an adjective or an adverb. It doesn't matter. But if you look there on the left written in red, bon means good. Okay, that's a descriptive word. Bien means well. Fine, those are two different words in English. But meilleur and mieux both mean better. So one of the important things to know is, well, am I dealing with an adjective or an adverb? Am I describing a noun, for example? Or am I saying how something is being done? So I'll give you some examples. Let's start out with bon and meilleur. All right, so remember, these are adjectives and they agree with nouns that they describe. So if you look over there on the left-hand side, bon, and I've written MS, that means masculine singular. That's what you're going to use with a masculine and singular noun. Now, it is important with these adjectives to know if the noun you're describing is masculine, singular, feminine, or plural, okay? So bon is masculine singular, bonne is feminine singular, bon with an S is masculine plural, and bonne with an S is feminine plural. Maybe you see my little hamburger buns over there on the side, on the left. It's because a lot of my students have a hard time pronouncing that word B-O-N-N-E. So a lot of people say bone, you know, like it's a bone, B-O-N-E, but it's not. It's bun. Granted, it's not exactly bun, like B-U-N, but it sounds a lot closer to bun than bone, if that's what you've been saying. Okay, so bun. Now let's look at meilleur. These all sound the same. Meilleur, 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 meilleur. All right, so whether they're masculine, feminine, singular, or plural, then you pronounce them the same way. D'accord? Now, bien, there in the bottom, and mieux in blue, those are adverbs. And adverbs are invariable. That means they never change. Their spelling will never change. So let's compare a few things using bon and meilleur as adjectives with nouns and pronouns. First example, c'est un très bon gâteau, mais le mien est meilleur. So that means that's a very good cake. We're describing cake, gâteau, which is masculine and singular. But mine is better. And maybe you've never seen le mien. That's a possessive pronoun. Okay, it means mine. Mine is better. Now, how do we know that we need to use meilleur and not mieux? Because mine is referring to the cake. So we're still describing something. We need an adjective. I like the next example just because it's funny. Ces bonbons ne sont pas bons. So the word for bonbon means candy or sweets. All right? So ces bonbons ne sont pas bons. These candies are not good, or these sweets are not good, or this candy is not good, we might say in American English. In French, ces bonbons ne sont pas bons. I've put it in the plural. So, goûte ceux-ci, ils sont meilleurs. Taste these, they're better. Ceux-ci, if you've never seen that, that's a bit advanced as well. That's a demonstrative pronoun. So taste these, they're better. Why do we use meilleur? Again, because we're referring to the candies, les bonbons, which are masculine and plural. Okay, look at the next one. C'est une bonne idée, mais la mienne est meilleure. C'est une bonne idée. That's a good idea. So the word idée is feminine and it's singular. So you see my little bunny over there on the left. This is just something I learned way back, I think in my first semester ever learning French. My French teacher always said, bonne idée, bonne idée. I had no idea what she was saying. And to me, it sounded like she was saying bunny day, like a little bunny in the day, bunny day. So if you have been having trouble pronouncing that bonne idée and you're saying something like bonne idée, remember, bun, like a hamburger bun, bunny day. That's just a little something that helped me. I don't know if it helps you, if it's silly. Okay, but anyway, c'est une bonne idée, mais la mienne est meilleure. Here again, la mienne, that means mine. Mine is better. Possessive pronoun. I'm referring to my idea, so I need to use an adjective to describe it. D'accord? Meilleur. And finally, ce sont de bonnes élèves, mais elles sont meilleures en maths qu'en français. Ce sont de bonnes élèves, mais elles sont meilleures en maths qu'en français. So we're describing these élèves, students, which happen to be feminine, d'accord? So we're using the feminine plural form of bonnes, mais elles sont meilleures. Now here we're directly referring back to elles, les élèves, qui sont meilleurs en maths qu'en français. So voilà, you might be saying, Jennifer, you forgot an S on de. Ce sont des bonnes élèves. I do sometimes make typos, that's for sure. I saw one in the last slide that I didn't mention. But anyway, ce sont de bonnes élèves, that is correct. And if you want to know why, you need to look for my lesson on all the different ways to use de, and you'll find out why. Okay, I can't really go into it right now. Now let's continue. Got a lot of stuff to show you today. Now we're going to look at bien and mieux as adverbs with verbs. Okay, first example. Comment ça va? Je vais bien. How's it going? Things are going well. You see, we're talking about how those things are going. We're talking about that verb. Okay, so one of the things that we run into as English speakers, comment ça va? We want to say, I'm fine. So in English, you might want to, or I'm good, or I'm well. So you could be tempted to say, je suis bonne, or je suis bien, or something like that. But remember that in French, look how the question was asked. Comment ça va? That word va is the word aller. It's the verb aller. So to respond, you have to talk about how you are doing or how you're going. That's why I translated it. Things are going well rather than saying I am well. Okay? Donc, je vais bien. We clearly need an adverb. Comment ça va? Ça va mieux. How's it going? Well, things are going better. Now I'm comparing the way things are going today to the way things were going yesterday. So, meilleur as we talked about a little while ago, is the comparative form of bon. So this is good, that is better. And mieux is the comparative form of bien. Things are going well, now things are going better. You see, pronounced mieux. All right. Nous avons bien dormi. We're talking about how we slept. It answers the question how. How did you sleep? Well, nous avons bien dormi. Now, I know that we English speakers, we're from lots of different countries, and we say things different ways. And we Americans sometimes get a bad rap because we might say, oh, I slept good. And that's not correct. I mean, of course, we're supposed to say, I slept well. If you're someone who's in the habit of saying, I slept good, or I'm doing good, that, and you're an American especially, that's accepted language for us. So, you keep speaking English the way you want to. I don't care. I'm here to teach you French. But in fact, you're supposed to be saying, I slept well, and not I slept good. If you want to make a little change in the way you're speaking English as well, because you need an adverb, and well is an adverb, okay? Donc, j'ai bien dormi. As-tu mieux dormi cette nuit? Did you sleep better last night? Again, it's the comparative form. Now here I've chosen to use a little inversion in my passé composé sentence, as-tu. So I'm inverting the subject tu and the helping verb a. And then dormi goes after it. But notice that in nous avons bien dormi and as-tu mieux dormi, in both of those situations, you can look down at the bottom in red, I've explained to you that short common adverbs are placed right after the first conjugated verb. And you can see how this rule really helps you remember where to put them in the passé composé. All right? Because they don't necessarily go in the same spot in English. Now, you might be wondering about that cette nuit. Did you sleep better last night? And I've recently put out a video lesson about how to use the word cette and the different, ce, c'est, cette, and all of that. Cette means this or that. But when you say cette nuit, it's just a little phrase. In French, it means last night. So that's interesting because last you would think, oh, la nuit dernière or something like that. But it's not. It's cette nuit. Okay, elle parle bien le français. She speaks French well. You can also say elle parle bien français. You can leave the le out if you want, or you can put it in there, okay? Both are accepted. Donc, elle parle bien le français. Je parle mieux l'anglais que le français. I speak English better than French. So notice there, I speak English better. You see where we put better in the sentence in our English grammar? It's so different where you put it in French. So like I said, it goes after the first conjugated verb. Now in this sentence, there's only one conjugated verb, so that's where it goes. But remember in the passé composé, your first conjugated verb is actually your helping verb. All of this is written in the study guide, okay? Let's move on. Now we're going to talk about using bon and meilleur as adverbs with faire. Oh my God! Bon is an adjective. How are we going to use it as an adverb? Remember in the very beginning, I said bon and meilleur are usually adjectives, but not all the time. So let me show you what I'm talking about. And it's especially with a couple of verbs, guys. Especially with the verb faire when we're talking about the temperature. You know how we use the verb faire when we're talking about the weather. If you want to say that the weather is nice, you'll say il fait beau, B-E-A-U. Il fait beau. But have you ever heard anyone say il fait bon? Because il fait beau can only be happening outside. But il fait bon, we're not talking about the weather, we're talking about the temperature. So this can happen inside or outside. And I encourage you to start listening and see if you hear this and start using it because it really means something different. Il fait bon ce matin. So the temperature is pleasant this morning. Now I'm talking about outside, of course. I wrote over to the right that this is invariable. We're writing B-O-N, and it will always be B-O-N because now we're using bon and meilleur as adverbs. And remember also that adverbs, like I told you, unlike I think in the very beginning, adverbs like bien and mieux, they're invariable, meaning you don't ever change the way that they're written. They don't have to agree with a noun or a subject or anything like that. So when you're using bon and meilleur as adverbs, you don't have to make any agreement. There's only one form, and it's bon. Okay? Same thing for meilleur. Il fait meilleur aujourd'hui qu'hier. It is nicer today than yesterday. Got it? So, il fait meilleur aujourd'hui qu'hier. This is a comparative form. Now, here's one that's happening inside. Il fait bon dans cette pièce. It feels good in this room. So, guys, it doesn't matter that cette pièce is feminine. Nope, we don't care. Because il fait bon. Look, we're talking about how it's doing, how the temperature is doing. We're answering the question how. This is an adverb. And il fait meilleur dedans que dehors. Let me repeat that. Il fait meilleur dedans que dehors. Dehors. Dehors means outside. Dedans means inside. And you can use the words intérieur and extérieur if those are easier for you to remember. But French people tend to use dedans and dehors. So just remember that dans means in. That can help you remember that that means inside. And dehors, well, hors is something that's outside. Like, when we eat hors d'oeuvres, hors d'oeuvre, of course, is how you say it in French. But in English, at least in the U.S., we say hors d'oeuvres. Well, that's because hors d'oeuvre, what is the oeuvre anyway? The oeuvre is the masterpiece. That's the dinner. So if you're eating something hors d'oeuvre, you're eating something outside of the dinner. Maybe that can help you remember that dehors means outside. Okay, let's move on then. I know I'm long-winded. I'll try to get through this. Bon and meilleur as adverbs. Right. We just did that one. Oh, no, we haven't done this one. Bon and meilleur as adverbs with a different verb. So just a minute ago, we were talking about using them with faire. And I told you that there's another verb you can use them as adverbs with, and that's this verb, sentir. Now, sentir means to smell. And in just a minute, I'm going to show you something else that it can mean. But for right now, it means to smell. So if I said, ça sent super bon ici. Que fais-tu à manger? I'm using it as an adverb. I'm talking about how it smells in here. It smells so good in here. What are you cooking? Okay, ça sent super bon. Tu ne sens pas très bon. Va prendre une douche. You don't smell very good. Go take a shower. Okay, so I wasn't going to tell you this because it's kind of embarrassing, but I have to tell you real quick. When I first met my husband, I won't tell you how many years ago, but anyway, it's been more than 2 decades. And when I met him, of course, I was learning French, and he was learning English, and I was in love, and I wanted to say, oh, I feel good with you. And I said, something like, je sens bonne avec toi, which was totally incorrect anyway, because I said bonne and not bon. But he looked at me kind of funny, and he was like, yeah, he said it to me in English. He said, yeah, you do smell good, but not just with me. What I meant to say was, I feel good with you. So I'm going to show you how to say that in just a second so you won't have the same embarrassing experience that I had. But before we get to that, let's get to the next example. Ça sent meilleur ici que chez moi. It smells better here than at my house. Chez moi is at my house. Okay? And then the last one, cette bougie sent meilleur que l'autre. This candle smells better than the other one, so we don't care that bougie is feminine. We still don't have to add an E to meilleur because it is being used as an adverb. Okay? I know that can be confusing, but if you just think about it, is it answering the question how? Yep, it is. How does it smell? It's an adverb. Okay? All right, let's keep going. Now, you're going to see how I should have told Francois that I was feeling good or well with him. Je me sens bien aujourd'hui means I feel good today. So now we're using bien as an adverb with sentir, but not just sentir all by itself. A second ago we said how to use bon and meilleur with sentir. What's the big difference here? Se sentir. This now changes meanings. Sentir meant to smell. Se sentir means to feel. So what is this called? This is a reflexive verb. Okay, so if you haven't learned about reflexive verbs, just look up Love Learning Languages reflexive verbs, and I'll tell you how they work. But they can really change the meaning of a verb, all right? So let me show you these. Je me sens bien aujourd'hui. I feel good today, I feel well today, whatever sounds right to you in English. Of course, well is the correct answer, but you know, whatever, like I said, I'm here to teach you French. So, je me sens bien aujourd'hui, I'm feeling good today. Je me sens mieux aujourd'hui qu'hier. I feel better today than yesterday. Elle se sent bien dans sa peau. She feels comfortable in her own skin. See, we have the same expression in English. Elle se sent bien dans sa peau, talking about how she feels in her skin, comfortable. Tu te sens bien dans ton nouvel appartement? Do you feel good in your new apartment? What's it like to be there? Tu te sens bien? Okay, so those are the basics. Even if you're a beginner, you can handle that. Now, it's going to start getting a little tricky. All right, but I encourage you to still watch, because you'll still get some French, maybe you'll learn some words, and even some expressions that you can just memorize without understanding all of the grammar behind it, because sometimes that's just what you have to do, and that makes it easier. So we're going to talk about using these words, bon, bien, meilleur, and mieux, with linking verbs. Oh my God. So I think when I was growing up, we called those being verbs. But whether you call them being verbs or linking verbs, they're not action verbs, all right? Now, these verbs in French are called les verbes d'état. So if you want a full list of verbs that work like this in French, this is what you Google, les verbes d'état. And I chose for this lesson to go with two common French linking verbs, être, which I'm sure you know, and avoir l'air. Now, maybe you don't know that, but that's an avoir expression, and it means to seem. Okay? So why did I choose to go with only two? Because it's confusing enough. All right? So I figured if we just stuck with two of these verbes d'état, then we could make some real progress. Okay? So let me get started showing you a few of these. So we're going to use bon and meilleur as adjectives with linking verbs. So adjectives are descriptive words. Many, many times when we're using bon and meilleur with verbs like être and avoir l'air, we're talking about when something tastes good. Food and drinks, okay? Now there are some other ways to use this, but I'll tell you what, as long as we're going down memory lane, I'll tell you another thing. Back when we first met, and I was just forever getting these bien and bon mixed up. I couldn't wrap my head around it, and mieux and meilleur was even worse. And I remember Francois told me, we were like 25, neither of us were hadn't been teaching very long. I actually had been teaching French, but teach French to someone, and then you'll learn a lot more. And that's what he did to me one day when I kept getting it wrong, and he said, look, he said, I'm the French teacher, but something is only bon or meilleur if it tastes good. So that helped me out for many, many years, and I think it can help you too, because it's a good rule, all right? I shouldn't call it a rule, but God, it helped me so much. So look at these examples. Les frites de chez McDo, that's how you say McDonald's for short, Mickey D's. Les frites de chez McDo ne sont pas bonnes. So the fries from McDonald's or McDonald's fries are not good. Whether you agree or not, it's a good example. So, elles ne sont pas bonnes. I have to say bonnes because frites are feminine and they're plural. I'm using an adjective to describe those frites, saying they're not good. And I pronounce it like a hamburger, bonne, with a little French accent. Celles que nous faisons à la maison sont meilleures. So the ones, celles, the ones, demonstrative pronoun, if you need to look it up. Celles que nous faisons à la maison sont meilleures. The ones we make at home are better. D'accord? So here again, we're using that linking verb être. That's why I have it underlined. Ton chocolat chaud a l'air bon. Ton chocolat chaud a l'air bon. Your hot chocolate seems good or looks good. You ever want to say, oh, that looks good? This is your go-to verb, okay? Avoir l'air. Don't use regarder. So, le mien a l'air meilleur. Mine looks or seems better. Chocolat chaud, masculine singular noun. C'est trop bon. You see that? C'est trop bon. It's so good. That's what we say when we're talking about food and drinks, and in some other situations that I don't necessarily need to go into in this lesson. All right, so now we're going to talk about bon as an adjective with linking verbs. Now, you remember linking verbs, les verbes d'état, we're talking about être and avoir l'air. That's where things get a little complicated. So look at these examples. When someone is good at something, like a profession, they're good at something, like they're good at French, they're good at math, or they're good at what they do, you can use bon as an adjective with être and avoir l'air. Or you can use it if you're talking about a good and kind-hearted person. For example, c'est un bon professeur. He's a good teacher. D'accord? But you can also say, ce prof est bon. This teacher is good. So we talked about using these with food and drinks, okay? But you can also use them carefully with people, okay? And I say carefully, I'll explain to you why in just a minute. But notice here I said, ce prof est bon. In the next example, elle a l'air d'être une bonne avocate. She seems like a good lawyer. Okay? Cette avocate a l'air bonne. This lawyer seems good. There's a reason why I'm not saying elle a l'air bonne. It's rude, but I'll tell you why in just a minute. Just stick with me. Go ahead and say cette avocate rather than just saying elle. Mention that person's profession. D'accord? Okay. Ce sont de bons artistes. They are good artists. Oh, Jennifer, why are you saying ce sont and de again with no S? If you don't know, look at my lesson on c'est versus il est and look at my lesson on the different ways to use de, and you will understand the reason why. Ce sont de bons artistes. Ces artistes sont bons. These artists are good. D'accord? All right, so let's get on to then the next example. And here's where, dun, 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 you're going to have to be careful. I hesitated. I said, Jennifer, are you going to go there? And yes, I'm going to go there. I'm going to tell you guys about this because I've heard it here in my town, from native English speakers. And I'm just like, oh, heavens, do they know what they're saying? And it's just so complicated to get into. Listen, I don't want you to make this mistake. If you say that a woman is bonne in modern, very familiar French, and that's what most people speak, it sounds like you're saying she's hot. So if you say, la serveuse est bonne, you may really want to say, oh, this server is good. Like she's good at what she's doing. But don't say that because it sounds like you're saying, wow, she's hot. I mean, if that's what you want to say it, But look over on the right. If you want to, you can say, c'est une bonne serveuse. That is totally correct. and you'll be completely understood. She is a good server. And I had to put this in here. My husband read over this, and he was like, Jennifer, you have to do that. And I was like, well, yeah, because, it's not the same for men, and I don't think it's fair. And I'm not the Académie Française, and I'm not going to change anything, but it doesn't work like this for men. If you say, il est bon, it doesn't mean he's hot. It means, he's a good-hearted guy. So that's why I said a second ago to mention the person's profession. On this first one, c'est un bon professeur. If it's a guy, you can say, ah oui, il est bon. But this woman, who is a lawyer, elle a l'air d'être une bonne avocate. Ah oui, elle a l'air bonne. It could be misconstrued. You see what I mean? So that's important. Attention, it's in the study guide. Let's move on. Using bien as an adjective with linking verbs. So, once again, you can, bien and mieux are usually adverbs, but they can be used as adjectives with these linking verbs. Linking verbs that we're focusing on, again, are être and avoir l'air. So, when you're doing this, you are using bien to express some kind of satisfaction or a moral judgment, something that is pleasing in some way or another. So if you say, cet appartement est bien, il est bien votre appartement, then you're saying, man, this apartment is nice. It's another way to say, I like it. Now look at this. C'est une femme bien. You can say that. It's totally different than saying, cette femme est bonne, right? If you say, c'est une femme bien, then it means you can count on this woman. She's an honest woman. She's a good woman, right? This time we're using bien. Confusing yet? You just need some practice. It's okay. Tu as réussi ton examen. C'est bien. You passed your test. That's good. C'est bien. You see, I'm expressing satisfaction. It's pleasing. You passed your test. Ta nouvelle voiture est bien. Your new car is nice. Now, why wouldn't I say ta nouvelle voiture est bonne? Because we're talking about the car. We're describing the car. We're saying it's a good car, and it's feminine, and it's masculine. Why do I have to say bien? Well, let me show you why. Because even though it seems logical for us to use the adjectives bon and meilleur to say your car is good, but mine is better, big strike through. If you say ta voiture est bonne, mais la mienne est meilleure, it sounds like you've just you've pulled a fender off and tried to bite into it or something, and you find out that yours tastes better than his. C'est trop bon, yummy. Okay? No, you're not eating the car. Remember what Francois told me all those years ago? Eating or drinking. That's when you're going to use bon and meilleur, usually. So what you would in fact need to say is ta voiture est bien, mais la mienne est mieux. Does it make sense? Well, not to an English brain, but remember these linking verbs, and we're only focusing on two to begin with, okay? All right, let me show you another one, just another example so you can really get this. Toi, okay, this is you speaking. C'est bien, mon petit chien. Well done, my good little doggy. You brought me the stick back. C'est bien. That's good, my good little dog. Well done, in other words. C'est bien. I'm satisfied with your action, mon petit chien, mon bon petit chien. But then your friend tells you, ton chien a l'air bon. You would grab your dog and run because it sounds like your friend wants to dig in, It sounds like he wants to eat him. Yummy, your dog seems good. But if you want to say that an animal, or a child for that matter, seems well behaved, good in that way, in fact, you need a different word altogether. So I'll go ahead and tell you, you would say, il est sage, or il a l'air sage. So you just throw away bon altogether, all right? Because you're not going to eat that dog today. Il est sage. Same thing for the children, okay? Now, you're going to use bon. Here's another way to use bon. So we're moving away from the linking verbs, and we're going to use bon to say something is correct or right. So, for example, if I said, c'est le bon parking, it sounds like I'm saying, is this the right parking lot. Is this the right... I can't remember how you say it in British English. Help me. Tell me in the comments. I know you don't say parking lot. But anyway, c'est le bon parking. It doesn't mean is it the good parking lot. It means is this the right parking lot? Ou alors, est-ce que j'ai pris la bonne décision? It means did I make the right decision? Now look at this because this is important. Now you have to know if you're talking about what you're if you're going to use bon, talking about something that is masculine or feminine or singular or plural. So if I say, ce n'est pas le bon, it means it's not the right one. Ce n'est pas le bon. So if someone drags up a little boy to you and he says, is this the one you were looking for? Non, c'est pas le bon. It's not the right one. Go find me the other one. Ce n'est pas le bon. Got it? So le bon, because le garçon, there's only one of him and he's masculine. Or if it were a little girl doing the same thing, I could say, nope, ce n'est pas la bonne. This isn't the right one. La bonne. In the plural, ce ne sont pas les bons. Are these the kids you were looking for? Non, ce ne sont pas les bons. Or if it's a bunch of little girls, these are the ones you were looking for? Non, ce ne sont pas les bonnes. All right, so there you do have to be careful. Because you know why? You notice the verb être that we're using. Huh? Okay, and tu es sûr que c'est le bon restaurant? Are you sure this is the right restaurant? Okay, voila. So remember that because that's used all the time in French. Now we're going to use bien to mean really before bon, and other adjectives too, you guys, but we're focusing on bon today. All right, so we're using bon to mean really. And you might say, well, doesn't really mean vraiment, oui, but so does bien, and it's used more in French. So you're going to really like the first example that I'm going to show you. C'est bien le bon parking. Is this really the right parking lot? So a second ago I said, c'est le bon parking. Is this the right parking lot? And here, c'est bien le bon parking. C'est bien le bon parking. Now in English we might not really say, is this really the right parking lot? We might say just, is this the right parking lot? We're adding some emphasis there in English. Is this the right parking lot? But in French, to get that tone right, c'est bien le bon parking. You see how we're not singing it so much in French. Is this the right parking lot? And listen to it in French. C'est bien le bon parking. It's flat, right? C'est bien le bon. Is this really the right one? Is this the right one? So you see how bien is being used to mean really. Tu crois que c'est bien le bon restaurant? C'est bien la bonne adresse? C'est bien la bonne clé? Ça ne rentre pas. D'accord? So believe me, guys, I'm not making this stuff up. That word bien, used before an adjective, many adjectives, is used all the time. And it doesn't mean well. D'accord? A lot of words change meanings depending upon context. All right, now look at this next one. When we're talking about technique or approach or a method or a style, you'll hear people say something like, c'est bien comme ça? C'est bien comme ça? You know, you can change the tone of your voice. Is this the correct way to do something? So these people over here on the right looks like they're making a cake. And so the one who's learning might say, c'est bien comme ça? Is this the way? Is this the way you do it? Is this the right method? Oui, c'est bien comme ça. Ou alors the person might say, non, c'est pas du tout comme ça. But, you know, you want to know if you're doing something correctly. C'est bien comme ça? Here's another example. You're having your hair done, and the stylist says, c'est bien comme ça? Do you like the way I did it? Or do you like the way I'm doing this? Does it suit you? Do you like the style? C'est bien comme ça? So you see what I mean? Even if you are a beginner, you can memorize little sentences like this, and you can start using them all the time. Hey, you know, we're almost done, I promise. I have a few more things, though. I want to run you through, like, just one little example, unless I have two. I think I only have one little example. And so we're going to imagine that we're at a restaurant, and you'll see these words bien and bon being used in many different contexts. So, imagine que tu es à table au restaurant et le serveur te dit « Tout va bien? Comment trouvez-vous le poisson? » Toi, « Ouais, tout va bien. Merci. Le poisson est très bon. » I'm going to show you what all of these mean in English in just a minute, but I want you to try to figure it out on your own for right now. Le serveur, a few minutes later, you've finished and he might say, C'est bon? Vous avez terminé? Un petit café? Non, merci, c'est bon. Je peux avoir l'addition, s'il vous plaît? Right? And now, you're using your card to pay l'addition. Serveur says to you, C'est bon, vous pouvez mettre votre code. Right? Now you've put in your code and you say, C'est bon? Ça a bien marché? Le serveur te dit, Oui, tout va bien. Bonne soirée. Alors, tout va bien? Comment trouvez-vous le poisson? Oui, tout va bien, merci. Le poisson est très bon. Is everything okay? Tout va bien? How do you like the fish? Yes, everything is fine. Oui, tout va bien. The fish is very good. Le poisson est très bon. D'accord? C'est bon? Vous avez terminé? Un petit café? Non, merci, c'est bon. Je peux avoir l'addition, s'il vous plaît? Everything okay? Have you finished? A coffee, perhaps? No, thanks. I'm fine. May I have the check, please? Okay, so what did the serveur say to you? C'est bon? Vous avez terminé? Ah, everything okay? Have you finished? So now you're kind of done with the dinner and he wants to know, well, how did it go? C'est bon? Vous avez fini? It's all is well? And then you say, and then he said to you, un café, peut-être? And you said, no, merci, c'est bon. No, thank you. I'm fine. I'm done. C'est bon. May I have the check, please? And now you're putting in your code and the serveur says, c'est bon. It's like, you know, vous pouvez mettre votre code. And he's like, all right. That's another way to say, c'est bon. All right. Okay. You see? And then you say, everything okay? Did it work? C'est bon? Everything okay? C'est bon? Ça a bien marché? Did everything work well? Now notice where bien goes in that sentence, right after the first conjugated verb. So that's the passé composé. Did everything go okay? And the serveur tells you, oui, tout va bien. Yes, it's all good. Huh? Yes, everything is fine, if you prefer. Tout va bien. Have a nice evening. Well, the evening is la soirée, which is feminine and singular. Bonne soirée, we say in French. D'accord? Okay, one more thing. And I promise, this is the last thing. And we're going to talk about how to say, when do you say c'est bon or c'est bien? D'accord? So I'm just going to give you a few examples, okay? And these are also ones that you can possibly memorize. C'est bon is going to have to do with a physical experience or a taste, or it's going to mean all is well. So let's look at those examples first on the left. Miam, c'est bon. Yummy, it's good. See, we're talking about taste. C'est bon. And we're never going to say c'est bonne, right? Because we're saying c'est bon. We're using that as an adverb. Yummy, it's good. Or alors, c'est bon, on y va. It's all good, everything's ready. Let's go. C'est bon. Right then, let's go. You see? C'est bon? On peut traverser? Is it okay? No cars are coming? Can we cross the street? Everything's good? C'est bon? However you want to translate that, you know. In English, we have many different ways we can say it. I don't think I would ever say, all is well, can we cross the street? I think I would say, no cars are coming, let's go. But in French, I would definitely say, c'est bon? You see? Next one. C'est bon? Tu as trouvé tes affaires? Everything all right? All is fine? Did you find your stuff? Your stuff, your belongings, tes affaires. Right? C'est bon maintenant. Ça suffit. Someone's doing something, you really want them to stop, that's what you tell them now. C'est bon, ça suffit. Or you can just look at someone, you can say, allez, c'est bon. That's enough. Cut it out. A lot of it does depend upon the tone of your voice. And finally, c'est bien. Now here we're talking about a good experience, but not a physical experience. So if I want to say, oh, it's nice here, c'est bien ici, that can mean, oh, this is a cool place. This is a really pleasant place. This place is lovely, whatever you want to say. C'est bien ici. You want to congratulate the kids on a job well done. C'est bien les enfants. Good job. So you might want to say, well, why can't I say bon travail, les enfants? Well, you could, but that sounds like something a teacher would write on a test or something. You're just telling the kids, good job, you made a great sandcastle. C'est bien les enfants. C'était bien aujourd'hui au travail? Was work good today? How did it go? C'était bien? C'est bien de partir en vacances. It's good to go on vacation. Again, you can translate that however you want to. C'est bien de partir en vacances. I just wanted to use that word good in English so that you can see that not every time we say good means that we're going to say bon in French. And then finally, se reposer, c'est bien. It's good to rest. Okay, so a lot to learn in this lesson. I understand that. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. And, don't forget that if you want the study guide and all this, I really think it could help you. If, like I said before, if you're a patron of mine, go over there right now. I've already put this 3-page study guide for you on there with all of the examples, plus some little helpful hints that I've thrown in, des astuces de génie faire. And you can also practice using bon, bien, mieux, and meilleur by signing up for my mini course. And all of that is in the description below. Voilà. I hope I didn't leave you confused. And if you are confused about something, just go back through the lesson and take it step by step, bite by bite. And if you're a beginner and you think, man, this is just over my head, stop when I start talking about linking verbs for now, because that's when it starts getting a little more advanced, okay? And then come back to it later. I wish you all une très, très bonne journée et je vous dis à très bientôt, à la prochaine et ciao. Oh, bye-bye.